So, y'all, some people are questioning, does misogynoir even exist? Is there a particular hatred or dislike for Black women? Hey, y'all, it is always great to be back. Oh, good to see you, Bree, on the virtual couch. Dr. Trista, what's up? The other Dr. T on the couch. Good to see you. Good to see you, y'all. We got it. We're just going to jump right into this one because if there was ever a topic that sparked heated debate, was this particular case. And as you guys know, here in HBC, we don't talk about the people, we talk about the problem. We're going to slightly mention what we're talking about so that you guys can kind of follow as we dive deep into the psychoeconomic, social, keep the list going aspect of it. So, y'all, some people are questioning, does misogynoir even exist? Is there a particular hatred or dislike for Black women? Or are we kind of making this up? Is it just misogyny for everybody? What do y'all think?
No, I mean, I don't think that we're making it up. I think we feel the disdain for Black women. I think it's felt amongst all of us. We have to deal with colorism issues, and we also have to deal with racism, right? So, and I think both of those things, I think Black women are the really feel it, you know.
I agree with Brie on this one. It's not a made up thing. It's a coined term that it's being used to express something that has been prevalent and present and infiltrating the communities, near and far. It's not an American thing. It's a worldwide phenomenon, I would say. And it just speaks to kind of how we almost always end up at the bottom of the barrel. Like, the fight for women's rights became, yeah, women's rights, but not really Black women's rights. It was white women's rights. And, now we're looking at, okay, well, the Black man has rights, but does it mean that we have rights too? Like, it just, it trickles down. We get the trickle down economics, and we're getting that short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the deck is stacked against us in many cases. Many.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk about the unique experience of Black women in so many aspects of society, right? So we talk about the experience of Black women from the time we step out the door in the daytime, how we're treated in stores, how we're treating on the job. So is there evidence of there being a specific target or hatred or dislike for Black women? Yeah, and I think most of us in our day-to-day can describe the numerous levels of ways in which we are targeted, or in which we feel discriminated against, or in which we feel some type of disparity. For those who are probably wondering, what in the world is misogynoir? And I understand misogynistic, but where did this term come from? Well, the term was coined by a Black feminist writer. And actually, I'm not even going to label her that because I'm not quite sure if she labels herself as a Black feminist. So I'm just going to say that it was coined by a Black woman, Moya Bailey, in the year 2010. And the word is used to address specifically misogyny that's directed towards Black transgender and cisgender women in America, in American culture, American experience, in popular culture. And one of the cases or recent legal cases that kind of highlighted this was the recent trial that was watched all around the nation of a very popular and successful Black female rap artist that was shot in her foot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, where have you been? But it was really interesting to watch how America responded to this particular case. And I will say it was especially interesting to see how the community responded to this particular case. And I was all up in the comments on this because I didn't have time to watch the whole case, but so I had to do the social media catch up. And it was just
really version.
The new
Cliff notes.
Cliff Notes
Right.
version. You are right. With a little bit of extra sauce to it, okay? Because you know how we do. But it was just, I was actually really startled at how much hatred was directed towards her. And it really got me to thinking about just all the aspects of when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to violent issue in our community. Um, One of the topics that came up as a result of this is, do you guys think that there is an belief in our community that the role of a Black woman, or has the role of a Black woman been to support and protect the Black man, even at her own detriment?
Yes, I think so. I think that's easy for us because we birth Black men. So I think that it's easy for us to empathize with them, one to rally behind them because they're our sons, our fathers, so we see our children when we see something happening to a Black man, So yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Brie, I ain't never thought about that in a long to see. This
You're
is why I
so
need
right.
mama on the listen.
You're so
That
right.
is such a very good point. Oh my,
Yeah, but
I'm literally like, I'm sitting here thinking about what she just said. Like, you're
yeah,
right.
see, but I'm mad that I didn't think about that. But at some point in
Please
time, it's like
talk
they're
about
no
a
longer
mic drop
kid though.
moment. Yes, that listen, does she
They,
have y'all thinking about that one too? But you are so right. Perhaps our natural inclination, I always think about, so here's the thing, I always think about our forced inclination, which, may be a little bit part of my traumatic history, right? So I always think about our forced inclination, the fact that we were the nurturers of everybody. Forced, whether they were our own or not our own, our forced own or not our forced own. So I always feel like Black women have this natural inclination to care for everybody about ourselves, and that as a result of us doing that for centuries, there is a natural expectation
Mm,
that regardless of who the other is, whether it's a white female, and I do think that white female have this expectation that we're going to be there with them in the battle when it comes to feminism, and feminist goals and missions and
right.
rallies. But I don't think that there is an expectation of the reverse.
mm,
I don't think when it comes to our struggle, specifically in this misogynoir space, that white women see themselves as having a particular role in our efforts to counter some of the experiences that we experience. And nor do I wonder whether or not Black women have an expectation that others should then
Mm,
come back and ally for us. I think that has been years and centuries of us not expecting that anyone would fight for us or would back us, that we almost don't even have that expectation ourselves. So but boy, Bree, you just added another layer that we birthed them, right?
yeah.
So,
Yes.
so how could we not have a natural inclination to want to protect,
right.
especially those that we birth? And you're right. Oftentimes, I'm not a mom, but I will say oftentimes my friends who are moms, they envision and always reference naturally, what if that was my child? Like I can see that being my child.
Hmm. Right.
Especially, yeah, yeah. It's interesting, to talk about what she represents for a moment. She's an interesting person. And one of the things that came up was the fact that even in her own industry, that she has had to endure. And I wonder whether or not this is par for the course. So some will argue this is what you get for being, if you want to be a hip hop artist, you got to be able to live that hip hop life and that hip hop culture. And that hip hop culture has
The
taken
violence,
away
the
has
misogyny.
literally taken away some of our greatest lyricists, right? So it's a
Mhm.
very it's a culture that's been through many tragedies, right? It's a hard life. It's a hard culture to live through. It's a beautiful culture. as well. I don't want to just paint one part of it.
Mhm,
It's a
mhm,
beautiful
mhm.
culture. Some of our greatest creations and creativity has been birthed as a result of the hip hop culture. So the question is, do you ladies think that some of the critique, the fact that she's in some of the lyrics, that she has been memed, that her testimony has been memed, her interviews have been memed by Black men who are in the same industry, that are they threatened by her because she is so controlling of her sexuality and not afraid to say what's on her mind in her lyrics? Or is she just experiencing what any other Black rap artists experience in the industry?
Well, I can say this. I think that being a Black woman, we have to live with the stereotype of always having to be strong. And
Mhm.
um, she's a very confident woman. And in her music, she exudes confidence. And some people are intimidated by that, not just men, but also women, because I think that when we exude confidence, it's misconstrued of being difficult, um, being overbearing. Like we have so many stereotypes that are not us at all, you know, but that people put on us. So,
Yeah, yeah. And you reminded me of the fact that the industry is an industry, right?
mhm,
So people create brands
right.
Mhm.
as a part of an industry. And this is a brand. And
Mhm.
granted, she may embody her brand. I don't want to speak for her. But it still is a brand. So what if I'm not that strong? What if I want to be soft some days? And there are some artists that are coming out saying, I'm a soft woman. I may portray very confident lyrics in my songs, and there's one particular artist who's very much known for this, but has come out and saying, I want to be soft, I don't want to be strong all the time. So I think sometimes we forget that what we see, what we hear, even on interviews, they have to continue to represent their brand.
Brand.
And if this is her brand of being a strong Black woman who is very much in control of her sexuality, then it doesn't necessarily mean that everything that you see, everything you hear in the lyrics is her. But again, the industry is the industry. Can be a very it can test you. It can test your strength. And people will come at you. Other artists will come at you, especially if you're on top, right? They don't come at the person who's quiet in the corner who's not really selling records. But if you're on top and that next person, because unfortunately, we always have the mindset of being crabs in a barrel, that we can't all be on top. It is very common that if you're the person on top and you're doing well and you're successful, that you're definitely going to have people coming at you. What do you think, Dr. Triss, about the fact that Black men have come at her in their lyrics?
Definitely that threat that um, she can't be seen as being anywhere equally on par. She can't be seen like we do well if we're below. That's the way that they want to keep it. It's like if we are approaching the same level, folk are gonna be upset. We cannot be equals. Okay. In this case, it's like we can't be equals. You can be a subservient partner, you can be a lesser partner, but we can't be equals. So in this case, I think there's probably some of that that's coming across where um she's getting a bit of the notoriety, she's getting a bit of the fame, she's getting a bit of the accolades, and she's coming a little too close. So it's like we
Mhm.
have to kind of keep her in check a little bit. But like piggybacking on something you were talking about in terms of being the brand, like, do Black women ever get to be the damsel in distress?
Mm,
Is there a time when that's appropriate?
right.
Whether in industry, out of industry, whether on brand, off brand, do we ever get to do that?
Good question.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like we can. It
No,
certainly has never felt that way. And
no.
the fact that people have compared her and her testimony to, I think I can mention this name, Anita Hill. Um, to me, that says a lot, right? Because Anita Hill went through a lot when she gave her testimony, right? And some folks really, now remember not that long ago, people were hashtagging Anita was right. Okay.
Mhm.
So but how many years later did that take, right? For people to even start to believe she was ridiculed, she was shamed. And what's interesting about this particular case, which again speak to the concept of misogynoir, is the fact that their default is always to go through and dissect and ridicule and shame the sexuality of a Black woman.
Mm.
So why was her sexuality such an important part of this case? Why was her sexual history so much made on display? Why is it always that that is the default, that when it comes to us expressing or sharing experiences of violence or trauma, that our sexual history is oftentimes what goes on display?
It's, I don't know, it's a really sad situation. I mean, um, her when she performs, she exudes sexuality. Like that is her brand, is sexuality. She talks about sex in her music, right? I think we're the only people that are not allowed to be something different than what we display in our brand. You see other women being able to, you don't see really a lot of other women, different races doing rap music. You don't really see them bringing up their past. Younger artists, I'm not going to say names, but who have been on shows that have done terrible things. You don't see them it being thrown in their face, but with Black women, it's like, well, you got what you got, because of this, you're not allowed to be this because you did this. And I mean, okay, she had sex with a few people. Why does that mean she can't be a victim? Like, like,
That's the part I'm still waiting for somebody to answer for me, right? Like, are you, because again, and that is why sex workers oftentimes don't
Right.
speak, because their sexuality is always placed and that's sex workers as an industry, but as a community, it's almost like Black women, if Black women have sex, then she can't be a victim of a violent crime. And that's really scary, right? Because violent crimes includes crimes of sexual natures, right? So
Right.
rape
Right.
is a violent crime,
Right.
sex abuse is a violent crime, and so if even in a non-sexual violent crime that your sexuality is placed
Right.
on display, then what happens when Black women actually do suffer from being victims of sexual violent crimes?
Right.
I mean, what I thought was really interesting, and I didn't fact check this, so forgive me if it is wrong, but I did read that she actually took some time before she shared her experience with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I believe that is because of exactly what we just said.
Mm-hmm.
I think, well, I'll let you guys share. Why do you think Black women tend to hesitate to human contact? I mean, I almost feel like it's rhetorical, but why do Black women hesitate to have conversations with law enforcement?
Because we gonna get the short end of the stick. They're gonna look at us. They're gonna question us. They won't believe us. Um, you may go in to report something and end up being the perpetrator of something else. Like the random things that can happen with it. But then I think going back a bit to what Bree was saying earlier, there is this desire, unfortunately, sometimes to protect, even when they've done wrong, because we know that the system can be even more harsh on our male counterparts. So there may be a bit of that desire to protect. And I mean, if it's someone she had a relationship with, whatever the level of relationship with, you know that there's a measure of that. There's going to be some measure of care, some consideration. She's spending time with this person purposefully, however the case may be. So there's some level of care. So it could be that there is a desire to protect, but then realizing this has gone beyond me and I can no longer do this and have to set the record straight. That's my take and my opinion on how things might have unfolded. But yeah, she's probably also thinking, you know what, I need to figure out the best way to go. Because the other part about it too is that being as public a figure as she is, any little thing that happens is going to be scrutinized, which she's now finding out even more and more. I'm sure she had a level of understanding, but maybe I don't know if she got
Do
it
you think
to
she was
this level.
surprised by the backlash? Do you think she was prepared, or do you think she was surprised?
I think she might have been prepared for a small portion of it, but probably not to the level that it got to.
Yeah.
Because and I think that she would know right is right and wrong is wrong. And she was shot. She didn't do the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
She did not do the wrong. So the expectation is, yeah, linking her name to this wrong being done, but not the backlash as if she has been a perpetrator of an evil act, because
Yeah.
that's kind of what it's looking like at this point in time.
Yeah.
She didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like she was not on trial, but it kind of felt like she was on trial.
She absolutely was.
And it's interesting because a professor from Pace University said a cycle of silence prevents many Black women from sharing their experiences. And this was Professor L. Williams, a professor at Pace University who studies hip hop, feminism, Black male rappers, and hip hop culture. And I will quote the article that I got that from in the context of this video. There, it's really sad, but I think one of the things that was even more shocking was just the venomous reaction. Did I say that right? Venomous reaction, specifically of Black females. I mean, she got dragged in comments by other Black females. And it's like, I wonder, like, do we not know anymore how to disagree in a loving way? Like it's almost like we in some ways have to, I mean, you could certainly defend if you think that he was innocent, then you think that he was innocent. But when I tell you she was dragged in comments, and I'm always given what we know about our own experiences. Do you think there's an expectation that Black women should protect other Black women?
I mean, we should protect other Black women. I mean, especially if the Black woman is a victim, But I think with this particular situation, it's a lot of things because you have the toxic relationships in the Black community that we get used to, right? That so when things like this happens, like I remember when she first of all, the person she didn't press charges. We forget that she didn't press charges against him. It was the state that did.
Mm-mm.
Like she didn't do it. She literally was just testifying, saying what happened to her, but
You are so right. Can
she did
you
not
say
press
that one more
charges.
time?
Right. She did not press charges. She wasn't the
Listen,
one
Bree is coming with the facts, honey.
like so
Listen.
that's what is the most craziest thing. Like they literally like went after her. They called her a snitch and the crazy thing, how is a victim a snitch? If I get hit and if someone violates me any kind of way and I tell what happened and I say what happened to me, that's not me snitching.
Right,
I'm
right.
a victim. We did not commit a crime together and to get easier, to get a lesser time or whatever. I
Thank you for
said to get
thank you for clarifying the definition of an actual snitch.
right. you know it's
Listen, we are
Mm-hmm.
getting our education here. No, you're
Mm-hmm.
right, because a snitch is actually like we did a crime together, and then one of us would then snitch on the other, right? That's
right.
really
Right.
what a snitch is, right?
Right. Like she's a victim. She was
He's a
allowed to
victim.
say what
Mhm.
happened to her. And the fact that people really made her a villain by her telling her own truth, I felt so bad for her. And I felt so bad because she should have felt protected, especially amongst our own community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's sad when we see when Black men do it because in a lot of spaces that is a topic of how we need to be more supported by our Black men. We that is a topic, but amongst other Black women, I think I was shocked by that because I was just like, wow, it's not like this person has evidence that this person was shot, but because this person healed quicker than what you feel, because this is what it boils down to. she healed in like within months, as far as she was able to go out and dance a little bit, right? Doesn't mean she was completely healed, but she was able to be out on the town. She was able to do more, not just stay in the house. And like, oh, she was on her feet too soon, so she must be lying. She must, if that person didn't shoot her, that person didn't do anything. Well, who shot her? Someone shot her.
Right, right, right. There were fragments. There were actual fragments. Okay.
Right,
There was evidence. There was a bullet. There are bullet fragments. Um,
right.
it's yeah, it's interesting because the more I hear about the evidence, the more I'm like, duh. But people are so polarized about this. And granted, fan base, some of y'all are real special out there. When y'all are backing an artist, like y'all will basically give blood to back an artist. And to each his own. But I'm just saying, like folks go deep with it, and the words cut deep. And I was just hurt by it. I was hurt to see other Black women tear another Black woman in her moment of being a victim down.
Right.
The most vulnerable place you can be, to even prepare to be and go and testify, knowing that you're going to get some backlash, but then to participate in it, I think, is another level of the unhealth of our psyche. I really think it does speak to how toxic and unhealthy some of our behaviors and actions are, and even thought process. And I wonder, how does someone heal after something like this? Like, how do you trust the community again? How do you feel vulnerable with your community again? And this is something that I think not just this particular person, but women who come out and go to trial and speak of their experiences of being a victim, especially when the perpetrator is someone of power, especially when it's another Black person. This is what they experience. I think watching this is a example or reminder of the experience of thousands of other women, and exactly why Black women tend not to come forth, tend not to speak to anyone, because they don't want to live the life of being ostracized. Now, she got some pretty coins, so she can feel comfortable in her bed by herself if she needed to, right? But who wants to feel alone? Who wants to feel isolated? Who wants to feel like they're not a part of the community? Who wants to feel like the community doesn't have your back? And where do you go from this? How do you heal from those kind of wounds?
I think you have to have a village to heal. I mean, you have to do the work, go to therapy. I think oftentimes in our communities, we don't really value how important therapy is, but therapy is very important. And having a village to love on you is very important too, as well. And that's why I felt very bad for that specific person, because if you know the person's story, she lost her mother, she lost her father, she lost her grandmother. So her village are her friends. That's her village, and they're all young. And so,
Because
I
she herself is in her
is in her 20s.
in her 20s.
In her 20s, she's young.
Listen, to go through something like this in my age group would be a lot.
Yeah.
With all the maturity there. Yeah.
Yeah, to try to, and granted, her lifestyle may mature her very quicker than the average person. Um, but yeah, to your point, Bree, she lost her whole village.
Yeah. And then to do this to go through this so publicly. I mean, it's not, and with social media, right? It's gift and curse. Just think about every time you go on the internet, your name is there, and it's all negative and it's all bad. And people would say the most horrible things, wishing death on this person, um, giving death threats to this person, and the person that they're doing this to is the victim.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm.
uh, it definitely, I think that a lot of people in the industry should have spoke up and rallied behind her.
What do you
Um,
think about that? What do you think about the fact that are people protecting their coins?
yeah,
Yes.
Because you're right. You're absolutely right. I would
Yes.
have expected more females of color, specifically Black females in the industry. Now, granted, folks got their loyalty. I'm loyal to this person, I'm loyal to that person. But if not her, it could have been you, right?
Right.
So why weren't other Black females in the industry rallying around her?
I
Like
think
she
like
really was alone.
yeah, she was alone, but I think like you said about the dollar, the other artists, were both great artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, both great artists, but a lot of people want to keep both of these artists up. So they don't want to take a side because they might want to work with this other artist if this person, because be clear, if this person did not go to jail for what this person did,
Mm-hmm.
person will be featured at the Grammys on the BT. Like this person, even if this person goes to jail and just does a year, right?
That's so true.
And it's still going to be featured in the BT Awards, the Grammys, and people
Right.
are going to work with them and rally behind this person. People, the unfortunate thing is that people didn't care enough about what happened to her.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
more care about what happened to him.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Which is absolutely I mean, it's just yeah. So here's the overarching question. We talk about the Me Too movement, and the Me Too movement had a lot of momentum, and there was a lot of foundational Black women involvement in the Me Too movement. Um, is the Me Too movement really for Black women? Is it all inclusive?
Well, didn't it start with a Black woman? Didn't it start with
Mhm.
like the movement? So
It should be.
I think it was designed to protect us, but I think others took the credit and got the ball running because I mean, women are coming from
Been
men
co-opted,
in the
maybe
industry.
a little bit of co-option.
Just a dash. So where is it now? Like, do we feel like the Me Too movement represents Black women? Are we inclusive? Are we included? Or are we the face of the Me Too movement? We
I don't think
certainly are foundationally.
Foundationally.
to some extent we are when you think of certain cases, when you think about the R. Kelly, I mean, the
Yeah,
first
the other R&B, when you
other
think of
R&B case, sorry about that, the other R&B case. Um, yeah, we were the face of that, but as far as
that's true. That's true. That's a good point.
I guess it just depends. I think we are the face, but the support is different.
Mm.
I think that because they're putting Black men behind bars, there are people that just want certain Black people just behind bars. So yeah, there's going to be people to rally to get certain people behind bars that deserve it because some people do deserve it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the support that these women get outside of what happened to them, because even if you look in those
Mhm.
cases, right, the victim is always being blamed. Why did you put yourself in that position
Mm.
to
Mhm.
for that to happen to you? You
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
know, why would you go to somebody's hotel room if you
Mhm.
didn't want that to happen to you? So I
Mm-hmm.
think the victim is always being blamed, and especially when it's us, because you should be smarter than that. You should have known better. So
I don't know. I feel like with, you know, some of the big names that have been placed in jail as a result of the momentum of the Me Too movement, that were non-Black, that a lot of those movements included us. Like we were actively included, right?
Mm.
But when you think of the R&B artist that's currently making phone calls from jail to share his to share his experience and his yeah. I didn't really see the opposite in that case. I didn't really see the opposite in this particular case with this female rapper. Where were the white women?
mm, right, okay, yeah,
Where were they?
right. There's no, yeah. It's just us rallying with each other when it's things like that. Yeah.
If we rally with each other.
If we rally with each other. Right. Yeah.
If we rally.
Right. Right.
Yes. And even that, we were split with the, I mean, there are people who swear by that R&B singer. And so we were split. The community was split there. The community is split here. But usually when I see these types of cases, I don't see white women.
Oh no.
And the if we're together, if we're really truly together in the Me Too movement, then why are we only together when it's something that concerns when you're the victim?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say this, and I'm not saying all, not in
Mhm.
no way am I saying all, but I would say that there is a lot of disdain for Black women across the board, like just period. With Caucasian women, with their disdain about us, because a lot of them date African American men, Black men, whatever, and they some like I've been in spaces where people would, it'd be a Black man talking about a Black woman, and he's with a white woman and she is agreeing with him. There's no rallying and us rallying, don't you talk about her, don't you, so I don't really feel supported with when it comes to white women, when it comes to our issues. I think that we're alone in that space. And the only reason why we rally with them in those spaces is because we can relate to it, and some of the
Mhm.
things that they go through and deal with, we can all relate to, being assaulted if we have been assaulted. So if, if any type of, there should be more support, more uh, access for Black women to get some type of support, or any type of woman to get support. Yeah, we're going to rally behind that. But when we are victims in a lot of cases, I don't think that they care, to be honest. I
Mhm.
don't think that they care.
You think it's care and not that they don't feel comfortable being invited in a space? Um,
I don't think that they care, because if they cared enough, they would talk about it. I mean,
because
I
when I think of the women's march, um,
Mm-hmm.
just think about how much momentum was behind that, women of all culture, and I am specifically speaking on Caucasian women because Caucasian women were such the forefront of the Women's March and also the forefront of a lot of women's movement, and also the forefront of the Me Too movement, even though it's foundationally Black. And so, but I'm not at all ignoring the brown skin sisters. Like, where y'all at? Where y'all at? you know?
that certain case that we're talking about, that R&B star, there were
Hmm.
young Black girls that were hurt in that, and you never saw any white woman speak against it, like,
Yeah,
or even try to, you know, get some help to these young Black girls to get some type of therapy, or, there's none of that. I think that we're in that battle alone. It's really sad.
it is really sad. It is really sad. Um, it's just, I don't know how we heal as a community. I don't know. It oftentimes sometimes feels so overwhelming because there's so many layers to us, and so many things, so many issues we have. I mean, there's so much toxicity in our relationships, and that has led to how we deal with each other, how we treat each other. I don't know how I definitely don't have the answers for her and how she heals from something like this. I mean, people talked about her from her appearance to what she said. I mean, there was nothing that could have been right. And I think, that's why this term misogynoir really hits home for so many of us because we can speak to specific experiences that magnifies or exemplifies this exact concept. And there is a disdain for Black women. Even, the women at the front of the movement, like look at women who are at the front of some of these movements. They have been ridiculed and just so many attempts to destroy them. So it's like even when we try to do good and we try to make change, we're stripped of our humanity, we're stripped of our dignity, we're stripped of our sexuality. And it just every time you turn around, it's just another reminder, another case that exemplifies that exact thing. But I don't know where we go from this, but we certainly have dissected this topic. And I wish her well. I wish them both well because he certainly has to heal too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they both do. And I think the only thing that we can do moving forward
Mm-hmm.
is just to be the example of the behavior we want to see, you know. And that's all that we can do is do. That's how we do our part. When I raised my twins, my daughter and my son, I teach them how to treat people well, how to be good to people, not people that just look like you, because you cannot control what other people do, like,
Right.
or how people were raised, especially
That
with,
Right.
part.
racism and things like that, and all these crazy ideals that people have about
Raised
us,
in the system.
right? So all we can do is be the behavior, be the example we want to see, and raise our kids, and hopefully when they get older, they'll do that as well. So I think she'll be fine though. I think she probably will take some time to heal. She hasn't posted on social media. So I think she'll be okay. Now that all the truth, the recordings and everything's out, and people know that she was telling the truth and she was all alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was also very sad. People were talking about her history of who she slept with, right? She slept with this person, that person, right? And what about his history?
Mhm.
What about his behavior, his violent behavior? Like,
Mhm.
people acted as if this person did nothing wrong. Like, this man has a
You are
gun.
so right. You are so right. I sure didn't hear anything about his sexual history at all.
Well,
But that is the disparity.
even beyond his sexual history, let's talk about his violent history. He has a
Mhm.
gun charge. He is already on parole. Even within that trial that they were waiting on to have, he assaulted somebody else. So how is this person like? I could see if this person is like Mr. Rogers. Like, you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, right,
Like I said, this person like Mr. Rogers, like, you're like, I can't believe this person could do something like that. I could see if this person had never did anything like this, and this is the first time, and you're like, I can't believe it because this person's never done, but this person has a history of violent behavior. And so I didn't understand why so many people, and also so many people in the industry, because we had spoke about big names in the industry that went out their way, and they could have said nothing. They
right,
could have felt what they felt and said nothing, never
right,
discussed it on any type of social media. They could have sided with him and just waited for the trial to say what they had to say, till everything was out. But
right.
no, like, they really went after that girl, and it was just really sad to see.
But doesn't that really explain exactly what you said there? Explains the level of disdain that society has for Black women. That
Mhm.
even when it is blatantly obvious, because that's
Yeah.
how a lot of people were saying it is blatantly obvious. Like, how in the world are you guys even questioning otherwise when the evidence is so stacked, right? But that just even more so explains this concept of misogynoir, that even when things are so blatantly obvious, that the disdain of Black women supersede even the most obvious.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's sad. Yeah,
That's sad.
it's very sad and
That's
very.
really sad. That's really, I mean, and this is year what? 2023. And we're still here in 2023.
That person is a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
So how is so a person who just out there living a day-to-day life?
The average daily Joe Schmo.
I mean,
James
I
Schmo.
I've seen so many videos of women. It's just so sad, of women going to police reporting domestic violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the police actually saying to them, that person didn't do that to you. No, you probably did that to that person. And these people
Gaslighting.
are getting killed.
Mm-hmm. Gaslighting.
Gaslighting them.
Gaslighting them to death, literally,
Yes.
literally.
It's definitely, it's a real problem. It's a real problem for us, not only in our community, but like, I don't know if you guys heard of the story about the serial killer. I don't know if it was in North Carolina or somewhere out
Mhm,
that way.
mhm.
Um, could have been North Carolina or St. Louis, but it was a serial killer, and this person was killing a bunch of Black women. And they were the people in the community were saying, we're missing some of these Black women.
Yes,
And
yes.
no one to
I'm
go,
trying to remember where it was, but yes, yes.
and the
It was
woman
out that
had to
way.
literally escape. A woman had to literally escape from the killer
Hmm.
for it to be seen as a problem in their community. You know,
I
like
remember that. This is very recent. Yes.
very recent. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But it's
real.
the same thing where a couple years ago where Black and brown girls were disappearing in DC. And the parents were like, yo, like literally, there was, I think, like 14 of them that had disappeared back to back and could not get the attention of the law enforcement. So again, feeling quite devalued, um,
Mhm.
just really not feeling loved or supported or valued at all by society. Sometimes including our own people. And
Mhm.
it's a really sad place to be. And it just, but to shed good light on it, as much as this is quite discouraging, is when you consider what Black women accomplish in this country,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
even despite all
Mhm.
of this, despite being disliked, ridiculed, questioned, victimized and re-victimized, that Black women are
Villainized.
still out there killing it,
Yes. Mm,
breaking barriers, creating things, starting top group to start on to be entrepreneurs in the US, the fastest growing group, period. The most
Mhm.
educated in the university system, the most degrees, period. Okay. When you really consider what we accomplished, yes, Supreme Court, okay, when you really accomplish, when you really consider what we accomplish as Black women, it is mind-blowing to even the fact that we survive from day to day, that we're
Yeah.
able to do what we do from day to day,
Yeah.
but then to not only do just the basic, but to surpass that and surpass others.
So,
We're some pretty darn amazing beings.
so. Mhm. Mhm.
Like, listen, like God was like, y'all gonna need my very best. I'm gonna give you everything I got because your struggle ain't gonna be easy. But dang, y'all, like from our skin to our hair to our creativity to our minds to our passion to how we love, like we love deep and hard,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and still are loyal to even those who are disloyal to us. We will still stand in the Women's March. We will
mhm,
still stand by our brothers. We will still raise our sons. We will still
Mhm.
march anywhere you need us to be for justice, even if it's not our own justice, right?
Mhm.
We will forgive. Like we're probably one of the most forgiving group. And that's the life we live. So as much as we go through all these crazy things, we're some incredible, incredible people. And that's what I want to leave our sisters with. Our fight is hard, our struggles are long, but dang, we're amazing.
True.
All
very
right.
true.
That's
Talk about
true.
some amazing women. Talk about some amazing women right here. Oh, the intellectuals bringing the facts, Miss Bree. Okay. I love it. This was an amazing conversation because it was not an easy conversation. I get
No.
triggered by some of these topics and comments. Um, but thank you for helping me go through this experience and this discussion. Bree, bring in all the facts. Where can they follow you, Miss Author? And please remind us the name of your book so we can hit up Amazon.
Yes, if I dream it, I can be it. It's on Amazon.
Mhm.
Children's book to help your kids believe that they can do anything they put their minds to. And hope it's a blessing into your home. And you can find me on Instagram, Bree Singer One.
I told y'all, Black women are killing the game. Okay. All
Mhm.
right. Talk about Black women killing the game in the healthcare field. Dr. Trista, who I always like to say she's a physical doctor of physical medicine. I'm gonna get my life together and get that right because she's been my friend for so long. I should know what she does.
So it
Doctor of physical therapy. I'm gonna get your girl will get your life together soon. Okay, I'm gonna get it right soon.
you can find me on Instagram at trisajob.dpt.
Awesome, awesome. And I am, as always, Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club. We thank you for joining us, and that's Healthy Bump Club on Instagram, to be clear, and Healthy Bump Club right here on YouTube, our home. We thank you guys for following, for watching, listening, and purchasing our apparel, our HBC Village apparel, making sure that people know that you are a part of our growing village. We thank you for watching each video. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. That's how we grow. That's how we get this information in front of what? The virtual world. And if you like this video, make sure you check out some of our other videos. We don't hesitate to talk about what other people feel uncomfortable talking about. And we definitely gonna bring the facts for you. We're not gonna not bring the facts, because that's just what we do. So once again, we thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you for watching this episode. And we see you guys when? Next episode.